Hello friends, I hope you all are fine. Today I will tell you about the schedules of the Indian Constitution. Now Indian Constitution is comprised of 12 schedules. They are as follows. First schedule of the Indian Constitution provides for option 1, name of the states and their territorial jurisdiction. Number 2, name of the union territories and their extent. Second schedule of the Indian Constitution provides for salary, allowances and privileges of high constitutional officers of India. In this, the salary of the President is rupees 1,50,000 rupees per month. The salary of the Vice President is rupees 1,25,000 per month. The salary of the Governor is rupees 1,10,000 per month. The salary of the Chief Justice of India is rupees 1 lakh per month. The salary of the Supreme Court judges and the Chief Justice of the High Court is rupees 90,000 per month. Now, the salary of Speaker of Lok Sabha, Cabinet Secretary or Secretary equivalent to the Government of India such as Comptroller and Auditor General of India, Chief Election Commissioner, Chief Information Commissioner, Chief Vigilance Commissioner, salary of these big constitutional officers is rupees 90,000 per month. Salary of High Court judges is rupees 80,000 per month. So these were some of the main high constitutional officers of India, of which I have told you the exact salary currently. These salaries are mentioned in the second schedule of the Indian Constitution. The third schedule of the Indian Constitution provides for, basically the third schedule is comprised of provisions of oaths and affirmations of high constitutional offices such as, now the offices are as follows. First, the Union Ministers. Second, the Member of Parliament. Third, Supreme Court and High Court judges. Fourth, the members of state legislature. And fifth, ministers of the state. Coming to fourth schedule of the Indian Constitution. So the fourth schedule of the Indian Constitution is comprised of provisions which provide for the distribution and allocation of seats in the Rajya Sabha to the states and union territories. Now on the basis of the population of the state, number of seats are divided for Rajya Sabha from every state. So basically this fourth schedule basically consists of provisions according to which seats are allocated to Rajya Sabha according to the union states and territories. That means that in Rajya Sabha, how many particular seats of the Rajya Sabha will belong to one particular state, or how many particular seats of Rajya Sabha will belong to a union territory. This is basically how this is decided. The provisions of deciding this factor is given in fourth schedule of the Indian Constitution, and basically this distribution is done on the basis of the population of the state. Coming to fifth schedule of the Indian Constitution provides for provisions related to the administration of scheduled areas. Sixth schedule of the Indian Constitution provides for administration of tribal areas such as Mizoram, Tripura, Meghalaya, etc. And basically, fifth schedule was comprised of provisions related to the administration of scheduled area, and sixth schedule of the Indian Constitution is comprised of provisions which is related to the administration of tribal areas. Seventh schedule of the Indian Constitution provides for provisions related to the division of authorities and power between the union government and the state government. And basically in the seventh schedule it is being listed that which powers will be allotted to the union government and which powers will be allotted to the state government. So basically this allotment is done on the basis of three lists. The first list is the union list, the second list is the state list, the third list is the concurrent list. So the union list is the list which has subjects related to national and international importance. And on those subjects only the union government can legislate or make laws. For example, the portfolio of defense, the subject matter of external affairs, etc. Now at the starting of the Constitution, when the Constitution was initially formed, this union list contained 97 subjects. But currently, this union list consists of 100 subjects. Coming to the state list is comprised of subjects related to matters of regional importance such as law and order, land, police, etc. This means that the state list consists of subjects that are important from the point of view of that particular region, and it contains departments like law and order, land, police. Now at the start of the constitution, originally it had 66 subjects, but currently it has 61 subjects. And the last is the concurrent list. Originally the concurrent list consisted of 47 subjects, but currently it has 52 subjects in it. These subjects are of mutual importance, and on these subjects both union government and state government can legislate. That is, in the union list there were only those subjects on which union government can legislate. In the state list there are those subjects on which only state government can legislate. And the concurrent list is that list which consists of subjects on which simultaneously both the union government and state government can legislate. Simultaneously means that they both have the powers, but don't take the literal meaning of simultaneously. That means that the law cannot be made simultaneously on that thing. Either the union government can make the law or the state government can make the law. And whoever has made the law previously, that law will follow. Now suppose there is a subject in the concurrent list. You can name the subject as A subject. Now you suppose that on A subject, a law has been made by the state government, and that law has received the assent of the president. So after receiving the assent of the president, that bill has become a law. First of all, when it was being passed by the state, it was a bill, and after receiving the assent of the president, it became a law. Now after becoming the law, the union government cannot change it. So this means that whoever, whether the state government or the union government, legislates on any subject present in the concurrent list, that legislation which has received the assent by the president previously cannot be amended or changed by the other party. That means if the state has enacted a law and it has received the assent of the president, then union government cannot change it. And if union government had made a law and it has received the assent of the president, then state government cannot change it. Eighth schedule of the Indian Constitution contains provisions, or basically it contains languages that are officially recognized by the Constitution. That is, if any regional language has to be given constitutional recognition, then that language is listed in the 8th schedule of the Indian Constitution. Now, there are many advantages that a language gains when it is listed in the 8th schedule of our Constitution. So, whenever a language is being listed in the 8th schedule of the Constitution, then they get the following advantages. I will tell you the advantages point-wise, and this is a very important thing. The very first advantage is the awards, medals and other prizes in the field of cinema, culture, literature, etc. in that language are constituted in order to promote that particular language. That is, in order to promote, for the promotion of that particular languages in the field of cinema, culture and literature, etc. and in many other fields, awards, medals and other prizes are constituted in order to, you can say, to promote the scholars or people whose native language is the same, to promote them or to encourage them to work more on their language. The second advantage is this, that literary training schools and academies of that particular language are formed, where scholars of that language work for its development. This is the second point. The third point, that in constitutional offices and government departments, official correspondence can be made in that language. That is, in our constitutional offices and government departments, if we want to write a letter to any government officer, or we want to address our problems to any officer, then we can write those problems, we can address those problems in our native language if it is listed in the 8th schedule of the Indian Constitution. The fourth advantage that a language gets when it is listed in the 8th schedule is that financial resources are made available and money is being allocated for the development and expansion of that language. And the very last advantage of getting listed in the 8th schedule is, I'm sorry, this much advantages are there only. So these 4 advantages: financial resources allocation, awards, medals and other prizes, literary training schools and academies are formed, and correspondence in constitutional offices and government departments can be made in that particular language. Coming to 9th schedule of the Indian Constitution. So after independence, there was huge economic gap between the upper and lower sections of the society. Rich were very rich and the poor were very poor. There was an immediate need to abolish the Zamindari system. So by First Amendment Act 1951, the Zamindari system was abolished and a new schedule, that is the 9th schedule, was added to the constitution. Now, the significance of adding this 9th schedule at that time was that any law that was passed by the parliament or state legislature at that time, and if that law was placed in the 9th schedule by them, then that law will not come under the review of the judiciary. That is, that law cannot be reviewed or checked by the judiciary. The reason for doing this was that after independence, it was necessary to make land available to a landless agricultural labor so that they can earn a living for themselves and their families. So for doing this, it was important for the government to acquire land holdings and properties of rich zamindars and businessmen. If any land of a zamindar was acquired, he used to file a case of illegal land seizing in the court and the judicial intervention was there. So in order to avoid this judicial intervention, 9th schedule was added to our Indian Constitution. Coming to 10th schedule of our Indian Constitution, it provides for the disqualification. It basically tells us about the provisions that are related to the disqualification of members from the parliament and the state legislature. It is famously known as anti-defection law. This schedule, this 10th schedule, was added by 52nd Amendment Act 1985. Coming to 11th schedule of the Indian Constitution was added through the 73rd Amendment Act of 1992, which contained provisions related to the powers, authorities and responsibilities of panchayats. 29 subject matters came under its jurisdiction. That means that this 11th schedule contained 29 subject matters on which the panchayats had the power to legislate. 12th schedule of the Indian Constitution, it was added through 74th Amendment Act of 1992, which contained provisions related to the powers, authorities and responsibilities of municipalities. This contained 18 subject matters. So friends, in brief, I have told you about all the 12 schedules of our Indian Constitution. What changes have been made to them? 4 new schedules have been added, that is the 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th. And I have traced their history, why they were added, by what objectives they were added. So by listening to this audio tutorial, now you know a basic idea about all the 12 schedules. And this basic idea is sufficient to answer questions that you will face from this part of the Indian Constitution, from the schedule part of the Indian Constitution. That means almost all objective questions regarding the schedules will be covered in this audio tutorial, even including IAS pre-exam. Obviously, any amendment that was made in the 12th schedule, basically if a schedule, suppose 12th schedule was added by the 74th Amendment Act, so the detail of 74th Amendment Act you will find only by reading that amendment. But what schedule contains, how much provision schedule contains, all I have told in this audio tutorial. So I hope you like it. We will meet in our next audio tutorial. Hello friends. I hope you all are fine. Today I will tell you about the schedule.